So what does your office do?
Primarily, we work with patients, patient advocates, and health professional organizations.
How so?
Well, we see our role as two roles, really, actually, to get important information out to health professionals and patients, and then to engage them in FDA processes. So it's sort of bi-directional communication, I'd say.
When you say engage people into the process, what does that mean?
Well, people come to FDA and they have an issue that they either are concerned about or they need more information about. So we listen to them, and then we try and figure out what part of it is FDA related that we can help them with, and then begin to help them navigate the FDA process to get their issue addressed.
Give me a for instance.
Well, if people are wondering, why did we make a particular labeling change? And what information did we use? So there we can walk people through the labeling. We can explain the drug review process and how an FDA medical reviewer looks at data, and how not only a medical reviewer but a review team evaluates the information they have and then makes a risk-benefit decision and may change the labeling because we think it's important that the public know about a potential risk.
Sounds like you're a double advocate, an advocate for the FDA and an advocate for patients.
I think that's a really good way of explaining what we do, George.
So how does that work? Let's say getting people more involved in the system.
Okay, well, let me give you an example. Patients could always participate in the FDA process by coming to our advisory committee meetings and speaking at the open public hearing. And years ago we heard from AIDS advocates that, hey, that's not enough. We want to sit at the table. And we thought, they're right. They need to sit at the table and participate in the discussion. And so out of that grew a patient representative program. So patients with a particular disease can apply to become patient representatives, and then they become special government employees and participate in our process, the advisory committee process primarily, where we're reviewing information, data, to determine whether or not to approve a drug. The advisory committee makes a recommendation. That patient sits at the table, participates in the discussion, and votes just like the clinicians. And we think that's a really important part of the FDA process.
And talk to me a little bit about what you do with healthcare providers.
Well, healthcare providers, we work with pharmacists, we work with medical specialty groups, nursing organizations. And I think one thing we do with them related to getting information out is the FDA's MedWatch program. And that has two purposes. One is to get important safety information out to the providers, to the healthcare practitioners, so that they can make the best decisions about which medications to use for their patients. And the other part of that program is to encourage health professionals and consumers to report adverse reactions into FDA. Drug development doesn't stop when we approve a drug. So it's important for us to get information after a drug is approved, and doctors, nurses, pharmacists are really important in that process if they report to FDA.
MedWatch is fairly easy to use.
MedWatch, you can sign up. You can become part of our e-list, our listserv. The FDA website makes it really easy for people to figure out which lists they want to sign up for.
And your office does very special things for folks who are really in need too, right?
Our office started primarily working with people with AIDS and cancer, and often people with cancer have exhausted alternatives for drugs that are approved, and they're looking for some new therapy that may help their cancer. So we talk to them about clinical trials, try and provide them information. Clinicaltrials.gov is a really great source for patients. And then sometimes if they're not eligible for trials, there are still ways for them to get access to investigational drugs, and we help them navigate the process to learn more about.
You walk them through it personally?
We do. They or their family member. Often it's a family member that's calling.
So it's a very personal connection, which is at odds with what some people believe about regulatory agencies.
Yes, that's true. I think we We very much value talking to patients and understanding what their issues are and trying to help them get access to the information they need.